This demo is for Instant Pot Jambalaya. In addition to your 6 or 8 quart Instant Pot, you will need a spoon for serving and mixing, a hard spatula for scraping a little bit, a knife to chop vegetables, and if you use a separate knife for chopping meat, then a meat chopping knife. Gloves if you don't want to touch chicken directly, and a meat cutting board. You will also need a tablespoon, a teaspoon, 1 cup and half cup measures for rice. And I think that's about it for tools. Now on to the ingredients. You will need some oil for searing. Generally, with jambalaya, a recipe would call for andouille sausage, which is a spicy and a sausage that could be either cooked, pre-cooked or not. So find yourself a sausage that is as spicy as you like it to your taste. So I am using some spicy venison sausage in this recipe, and they are raw, so I am going to be cooking them along with the chicken. And speaking of chicken, you will need 3/4 of a pound of chicken thighs or chicken breasts. I am using chicken thighs. You will need a heaping cup of chopped onion, which equates to about 1 medium. You will need 1 pepper. You will also need 1 cup of chopped celery, a teaspoon of garlic powder or a tablespoon of crushed garlic. You will also need a teaspoon of thyme that is dried, as well as a tablespoon or less or more of Creole seasoning. So with Creole seasoning, it normally has garlic in it, so I have made my own. I will post the recipe below so you can make your own Creole seasoning with or without garlic. If you buy some, I would definitely recommend dipping your finger in and tasting how spicy it is. I did use 1 tablespoon in this recipe, and it was about the most that I could handle. My husband loved it and just thought it was, mildly spiced, and I thought it was a little bit fiery for my tongue, but so much flavor that I ate it anyway. So if you don't love a lot of heat, I would probably go with a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of Creole seasoning. 2 teaspoons of salt and some pepper if you want it, but I found it spicy enough. Also 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm using a gluten-free version here, but the regular Lean Parents is just fine if you're not gluten-free. You'll need 2 cups of chicken, fish, beef or pork broth, or even veggie. So any kind of broth works here. As well as a couple of bay leaves, 1, 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes. Of course, we need rice for the jambalaya, so you will need 1.5 cups of long grain rice. I'm using organic white basmati. You will also need a couple tablespoons of chopped parsley. You can either use it for garnish or put it right in the dish, as I did. And of course, you're going to need shrimp or prawns, or this wouldn't be jambalaya. But of course, if you're allergic, I would suggest you don't include them. But I'm using prawns because I prefer the texture of prawns. And then I just chop them in about 3 pieces per prawn. So first up, set your Instant Pot to saute on high for 10 minutes or whatever the preset is that you've got going on there. And we're going to get sauteing the sausage and the chicken. Okay, if you're gloving up, then glove up, and we're going to chop that chicken and chop the sausage in bite-sized pieces. Now your Instant Pot should be quite hot, so add in some oil and then add the chicken and sausage to saute together. Give it a stir. While that's searing, time to chop up the other vegetables if you haven't done so already. I actually found a whole container of chopped onion. This is how prepared I am, and I don't even know it. So chop your 1 cup, or heaping cup, I should say, of onion, your whole pepper, and 1 cup of celery, and add them in whatever order you want. And since I already have onion out and mostly peeled, I'm just gonna chop it up too so we can chop together. And don't forget to give your pot a stir so that things aren't sticking too much to the bottom, but they need to get a good sear. Along with those veggies, now is the time to add in your crushed garlic if you're using it. Give everything a stir and get the rest of the ingredients in the pot. That's 1 tablespoon of Creole seasoning, or less or more, depending on the heat level that you like. 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder if you're using the powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, then 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Add in a couple of bay leaves and then the 2 cups of broth or stock. Give it a mix again and make sure that nothing is stuck to the bottom. Once it's mixed, nothing's stuck to the bottom, add the tomatoes only on the top of the mixture. Just spread it around a little bit, and we're going to put rice on top of that. So add in 1.5 cups of rice, sprinkle it all over the top of the tomatoes. You can use your fingers to turn the inner pot around. Now you'll notice that I'm not rinsing the rice here. I'm not concerned about too much starch or that it won't absorb the water or get clumpy because there's plenty of liquid in this already. So take your hard spatula or spoon and just make sure that all of the rice is submerged and evenly distributed. It can be pushed down a little bit, but just not to the bottom. Wipe and just make sure nothing is stuck to that inner pot. Put your lid on and then set the valve to sealing, not venting. Then set your Instant Pot to pressure cook or manual, depending on your model. And we're going to pressure cook it on high for 7 minutes. Press start. And now get your shrimp or prawns prepared. If you're using small whole shrimp, you probably don't have any prep to do. But if you're using prawns like I am, make sure you get them prepped, chop them up to the size that you would like for your jambalaya. And once your Instant Pot is finished cooking, hit cancel and do a quick pressure release. If your floating pin has dropped now, then open up your Instant Pot and add in your raw shrimp or prawns. Give it a stir, and then if you're using the parsley as a garnish, you can keep it out, but I'm adding it in right now with the prawns. And then close the lid up very quickly. Give it about 3 to 5 minutes, and those shrimp or prawns will cook within that time. Also make sure to set the valve to sealing and not venting, so we do keep all of the steam in there. Okay, I've given it 5 minutes and now I can't wait to eat this. Not that I'm worried about eating raw shrimp or prawns, but if you are, just double check that your prawns and shrimp are cooked. They should not be translucent now. They should be opaque. I'm in heaven. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I am. Speaking of enjoying, if you enjoy my demos and want to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified when new ones are posted.